Have you ever found yourself blindsided by a phone call that changes everything? Or perhaps it was a heated argument with a colleague who disrespected you and left you feeling powerless. In those moments, your heart races, your mind spirals, and the world seems to close in around you, yet a surprising number of people manage to stay calm in the face of such adversity, almost as though they have an inner fortress. Today we're going to explore how that steady resilience comes from an ancient philosophy called Stoicism. It's not an outdated relic from dusty scrolls, it's a living guide to turning life's toughest blows into opportunities for growth. Over the next 7 chapters, you'll discover 7 Stoic secrets for becoming practically unbreakable in the face of stress, anger, and uncertainty. No airy theory, just proven strategies drawn from Stoic figures like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, as well as modern psychology. Our journey begins now, and by the end you'll know exactly how to harness Stoic wisdom to stay balanced, even when life feels overwhelming. If you've ever wondered how to remain poised while others crumble under pressure, you're in the right place. There's more than just coping techniques here. There's genuine transformation where fear turns into courage and setbacks become stepping stones. Before we dive into the first principle, keep an ear out for the final chapters, as one of these Stoic secrets is something even many long-time practitioners overlook. It may very well be the missing piece you need for a complete mental reset. And because we're aiming for real change, I invite you to think of at least one challenge you're facing right now. Maybe it's related to self-discipline, anxiety, or a tense relationship. Keep that problem in mind throughout the video. See which Stoic lesson best applies, and by the conclusion, you'll have a specific plan of action ready to get started. Let's step into the first key insight. Focus on what truly lies within your control. In any crisis, large or small, it's easy to feel paralyzed when events spiral out of hand. Yet Stoicism teaches that genuine power begins by differentiating between what you can change and what you simply can't. Whether it's a rude co-worker, a sudden economic downturn, or terrible weather on the day of your big event, these external factors lie mostly beyond your influence. Rather than raging against uncontrollable forces, Stoics like Epictetus remind us to direct our energy inward to our own decisions, responses, and attitudes. Imagine you're caught in an endless traffic jam en route to an important meeting. You can either stew in frustration or seize the moment. Perhaps you'll listen to a motivational podcast or mentally rehearse your presentation. The traffic itself doesn't change, but you do. With this shift, you reclaim valuable mental bandwidth that would otherwise be wasted on fuming at circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, who led Rome through wars and epidemics, hammered this lesson home in his Meditations. He knew he couldn't halt a plague or control enemy forces entirely, but he could decide how he led, spoke, and thought each day. Next time you feel overwhelmed, do a quick inventory. Which parts of the situation are definitely outside your control, and which aspects can you meaningfully influence? List them separately if that helps, then deliberately choose to channel your time and emotional energy into the items on the second list. This is where a tiny act has an outsized impact, like deciding to respond calmly instead of ranting or choosing to go for a walk when anxiety hovers. It may sound simple, but it's transformational. The moment you stop pouring fuel into the fire of what you can't change, you'll notice a lightness, a clarity that lets you act with purpose. I challenge you to try this in the week ahead. Think of an ongoing frustration. Maybe it's a nagging project at work or an unpredictable family situation. Each time irritation flares, take a mental note. Is this under my control or not? If not, practice letting go. If yes, focus on the one step you can take. You'll be amazed at how quickly that mental pivot reduces tension. Feel free to share your experiences in the comments below. You never know who else might benefit from your story. Keep watching, because in the next chapter we'll reveal how reframing obstacles can turbocharge your resilience, especially when life knocks you flat. We all know those moments when something goes horribly wrong and our first instinct is to panic or complain. It might be a heartbreaking rejection letter, an unexpected bill, or a difficult person blocking your progress. Yet, according to Stoic philosophy, the greatest breakthroughs often come disguised as setbacks. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote that obstacles don't have to halt our progress. They can in fact become the path itself. This principle is sometimes called the obstacle is the way, and it's a powerful mindset shift that turns misfortune into a training ground for resilience. One historical example that illustrates reframing obstacles comes from Thomas Edison. In 1914, his laboratory went up in flames, destroying years of research and technology. While others might have sunk into despair, Edison reportedly told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." By the following day, he was already speaking of lessons learned and ways to rebuild better. That's the Stoic spirit in action. He lost his building, but not his determination. Instead of wallowing in grief, he chose to focus on the unexpected gift of a fresh start. Modern psychologists confirm that this ability to see hidden possibilities in setbacks can dramatically increase mental toughness and reduce prolonged stress. If you want to make this shift yourself, try to view every stumbling block as an exercise routine for your mind. Maybe your relationship ended abruptly. You could complain for weeks, or you could see it as a chance to rediscover your own identity and establish healthier emotional habits. If you were passed over for a promotion, it may be the sign you needed to explore a more fulfilling path. Rather than complaining, ask, how can this situation help me grow stronger, or what new avenues might this failure reveal? You won't always find an immediate silver lining, but the practice alone changes how you interpret adversity. Here's a challenge for you. Think of a disappointment you faced in the last month. Write it down and list 3 ways you can benefit from that experience. Are there new skills you can acquire, different routes you can try, or valuable lessons you can apply next time? This reframing habit quickly distinguishes those who remain stuck in regret from those who transform every setback into a stepping stone. Stick around for the next chapter, because we'll explore how to refine your emotional responses, so you're not just reframing difficulties, but calmly navigating them without exploding or shutting down in the heat of the moment. Reframing obstacles sets a positive foundation, but what happens when you're face to face with a rude comment, an infuriating email, or an unexpected crisis? Stoic wisdom holds that even the most hostile provocation need not hijack your mood. Instead of reacting on autopilot, you can choose your response. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to remain unswayed by external events, always remembering that the true damage often arises more from our emotional flare-ups than from the situation itself. In modern everyday life, one especially useful Stoic-inspired technique is the pause. The moment you feel your blood pressure rising, when you're tempted to snap at someone or fire off a cutting remark, simply stop. Count slowly to 5 or even 10 before saying or doing anything. This brief pause can be transformative. It sounds almost too basic, but that single moment of restraint recasts you from a reactive victim of circumstance into the calm controller of your own conduct. James the Stoic, a contemporary commentator on these teachings, goes so far as to recommend the silent stare. When someone crosses a line, you simply offer a composed gaze rather than an outburst. As minor as it seems, this quiet control can derail someone else's aggression and restore your sense of self-possession. Consider Seneca's reflections on anger. He pointed out that lashing out often compounds the original harm, because rage rarely leads to wise decisions. Picture yourself in a tense meeting. A colleague repeatedly interrupts you, undermining your input. Before Stoicism, you might angrily interrupt them back or sink into resentful silence. With the Stoic approach, you notice your frustration, pause just long enough to regain composure, then respond with poise, maybe calmly pointing out the interruption or, if appropriate, presenting your idea in a manner that leaves no room for disrespect. This isn't about repressing genuine feelings, it's about training yourself to choose the most beneficial response. Try it out this week. The next time someone says or does something that makes your blood boil, take that deliberate pause. Ask yourself, what's the wisest way I can handle this? You might decide to address the issue directly, let it go, or propose a compromise. Regardless, the choice is yours, not your emotions. If you start applying this even half the time, you'll be startled by how your self-confidence grows. And remember, responding calmly doesn't mean you're weak or passive. On the contrary, it demonstrates a rare kind of inner strength that others respect. Stay tuned, because in the upcoming chapters, we'll talk about how practicing deliberate discomfort and gratitude can add extra layers of resilience to everything you've learned so far. Life is rarely free of challenges, yet many of us try to avoid even the smallest discomforts whenever possible. Stoics, on the other hand, saw mild, self-imposed hardship as a vital way to build fortitude before real adversity strikes. Musonius Rufus, a less celebrated but deeply influential Stoic philosopher, encouraged students to practice voluntary discomfort, such as sleeping on a hard surface or consuming simpler meals to prove they could adapt. Seneca echoed this, advising people to occasionally step away from luxuries so that if fortune ever stripped them away, they'd remain unfazed. From the Stoic viewpoint, training yourself to handle little hardships teaches your mind to remain calm and resourceful when genuine crises occur. Modern psychology backs this up with the concept of stress inoculation, where exposing yourself to mild, manageable stresses strengthens your resilience. Think of it like exercise. Repeatedly lifting light weights prepares you to handle heavier ones later. Maybe you start by taking a short, cold shower each morning or by fasting for a single meal under safe conditions. When you choose these minor discomforts, you deliver a clear message to your own mind. I can do this, and discomfort doesn't break me. It's a far cry from self-punishment. Rather, it's a strategic way to reduce your fear of life's inevitable bumps. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become a revered teacher, lived through harsh circumstances daily, yet used them to sharpen his resolve. If he could endure in that environment, how might we benefit from practicing a scaled-down version of the same mindset? Try a simple experiment this week. Pick one moderate challenge, something that's inconvenient yet safe, and commit to it for a few days. Perhaps you'll walk to the shops instead of driving, or stand in the queue you dread instead of finding a shortcut, or skip that evening Netflix binge to practice a brief Stoic meditation. You're deliberately facing an annoyance or a mild difficulty, then noticing that it's not as distressing as you feared. Over time, you'll see that you cope better in everyday life too, because your baseline for what's stressful has shifted. When a sudden inconvenience hits, a train delay, a broken phone, a day gone awry, you'll think, I've handled worse on purpose. This is manageable. It's an empowering mindset and a direct route to emotional stability. Marcus Aurelius never forgot that he was accountable for an entire empire, juggling armies and politics while a plague spread across Rome. Yet he still found moments to test his discipline, rising early to write in his notebooks, braving the front lines to understand his soldiers' burdens, and trimming away needless indulgences. It wasn't luxury that kept him grounded in a chaotic world, but disciplined effort that reminded him if he could handle minor trials by choice, he was better prepared for the overwhelming responsibilities of his station. Adopting a version of this principle in your own life doesn't require extreme asceticism. It simply asks that you occasionally lean into discomfort, trusting that your spirit grows stronger each time you accept hardship with equanimity. Keep watching, because in the next chapter we'll learn how gratitude can be a hidden superpower in maintaining perspective, no matter how grim things get. Even in the midst of chaos, the Stoics insisted there is almost always something to appreciate. Gratitude might seem like a soft concept next to the more robust strategies of facing difficulty, but its transformative effect is profound. Seneca asserted that if you have even the bare essentials for survival, you possess more than many in history ever did. Modern research confirms that deliberately focusing on what's going right increases emotional resilience and dispels worry, because your brain is no longer fixated on anxieties and deficiencies. The simple act of saying thank you to life, even for small mercies, can shift your entire worldview from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Gratitude doesn't mean turning a blind eye to hardship. It actually coexists perfectly with what's called memento mori, the Stoic practice of remembering that life is fragile and finite. By acknowledging how swiftly time passes, you're reminded to value every moment, every comfort, and even every setback for the lessons it contains. Epictetus pointed out that we don't own much in this world, not even our bodies or our loved ones. This might feel somber at first, but it can awaken a deep appreciation for the fleeting wonders around us. By intertwining this perspective with daily gratitude, you'll find reasons to be thankful in almost every situation, whether it's a supportive friend, a skill you've honed, or even the resilience you're building through difficult times. Try a small exercise. At the end of each day, jot down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be simple, like a warm bed, a kind smile from a neighbor, or having enough to eat. If you're going through a tougher period, this practice matters even more. Your mind naturally inclines to focus on negativity when you're stressed, so think of it as a deliberate corrective lens. Over time, you'll notice an internal shift. Your emotional default setting reorients toward recognizing the good instead of scanning for the bad. Admiral James Stockdale, who credited Stoicism with helping him survive years as a prisoner of war, mentioned that even in the worst conditions, tiny blessings like a sliver of sunlight or a whisper of breeze offered glimmers of hope. If gratitude could sustain someone in such dire circumstances, imagine what it can do in our everyday trials. Here's where it merges beautifully with the other Stoic practices. When you've trained yourself to handle discomfort and to spot hidden benefits in tough situations, gratitude becomes the warm, uplifting thread that ties them all together. You start seeing not just opportunities for growth, but also the gifts that still remain around you, however small. This is more than wishful thinking. It's a proven strategy for mental resilience, supported by psychology and validated by thousands of years of Stoic teaching. Don't underestimate it. In our final chapter, we'll pull together all these threads: how to focus on the controllable, reframe obstacles, master your responses, train with discomfort, and live in gratitude, into one coherent, unbreakable mindset. Stay with me, and soon you'll have the full picture of what it truly means to embody Stoic resilience. Now that you've seen how focusing on the controllable, reframing every obstacle, mastering your response, embracing discomfort, and practicing gratitude weave together, it's time to unite all these strands into a single, unshakable mindset. Stoicism might be centuries old, but the combination of these principles is as effective today as ever. It helps you handle challenges with a steady hand, transform setbacks into building blocks, maintain composure under pressure, and appreciate what you have even when life seems unfair. Taken as a whole, this approach isn't just about short-term fixes. It's a holistic way of living that can make you feel genuinely unbreakable, no matter what storm comes your way. If you think back to the moment that first drew you here, perhaps a scene of disrespect at work or a personal crisis, it's worth noting how different that situation feels under a Stoic lens. Rather than blaming fate or other people, you focus on your own actions, your own perceptions, and the areas where your input truly matters. Rather than slamming into every roadblock, you observe it, ask yourself what lessons can be gleaned, and either navigate around it or put it to work as a teacher. You're building a mental muscle that doesn't snap under tension, but adapts, growing stronger each time adversity appears. By choosing to face small discomforts, you've proven that unease isn't a tyrant, it's a training partner. By expressing gratitude, you've discovered that amid losses and chaos, there is still so much you can cherish. This isn't about magic or wishful thinking. It's about cultivating a heightened awareness of both your limitations and your potential for growth. Take a moment to recap the key steps you've learned. First, identify the elements of your life you can control and channel your energy there. Second, see obstacles as opportunities to learn or pivot. Third, pause before reacting, knowing that calm composure opens doors anger would slam shut. Fourth, regularly embrace small doses of discomfort so you're never a stranger to challenge. Fifth, affirm whatever blessings you already have, no matter how small, reminding yourself that even in adversity, there's something positive to recognize. Each principle stands on its own, yet they support each other in an ever-strengthening loop. When you cultivate this approach consistently, you'll notice a deep resilience that can't be easily rattled, exactly what Stoics from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus exemplified in their turbulent lives. Your next step is simple yet life-changing. Pick one of these Stoic secrets and commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Maybe you'll focus on mastering your response by pausing whenever tension builds. Maybe you'll choose to embrace discomfort with a short daily walk in the rain, or turn off your phone for an hour when it's itching to distract you. Or you might delve into the gratitude exercise every night, listing out even the tiniest things that warmed your heart. Whichever habit you adopt, do it wholeheartedly, and pay close attention to how it shifts your perspective and mood. If you find yourself struggling, remind yourself that Stoic wisdom is a journey, not a finish line. Each effort is part of your training. As you step forward, remember that countless others have walked this path, from Roman emperors shouldering the fate of an empire to everyday people overcoming personal battles. Their collective example proves that these ideas aren't mere philosophy, they're lived experiences. Let your story join theirs, showing that resilience is within reach for all of us. If you found value in what we've discussed, feel free to comment below on which Stoic lessons struck the biggest chord and how you plan to apply it. That small action might inspire someone else to persevere too. In the words of Seneca, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Armed with these Stoic principles, you're now free to prove yourself not through empty bravado, but through calm, measured actions that reflect a mind at peace even when the storm rages. Stay strong, stay humble, and remember, the obstacle isn't the end of your road, it's the start of your evolution.